I'll never forget that case. As a matter of fact, Lloyd originally got that case in, and I was trying a massive case in Stillwater when Lloyd got the call about that case. And I was right in the middle of a 2-month jury trial. And I checked my phone one of the nights of this 2-month, right in the middle of the 2-month jury trial. And Lloyd said, urgent, 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 call me. I know you're in trial, call me. I called him that night and he says, the craziest thing has happened. And as soon as this jury trial is over, we got to go investigate something. And so we did. I finished up that jury trial in Stillwater. We were fortunate enough to get a great result for our clients. And then Lloyd and I headed to Eufaula to meet one of the most fascinating, wonderful persons we had ever met. And what had occurred, the case involves this. In Eufaula, there's a Bank of Eufaula. And a bad man went into the bank one morning right after it had opened. And he walked into the lobby. It's on security camera, you can see it. He's standing around, he's standing the lobby, standing the offices. And he looks and he finds the office that says the word president on it. He walks into that office and the president of the bank was in there. He's reading his paper. He folded down the paper as this bad guy walked into the office and said, "Can I help you?" And the bad guy pulled out a gun and shot him in the head. Of course, everyone in the bank heard the gunshot. The bad guy walks back into the middle of the lobby, shoots 2 times into the ceiling. He's got everybody's attention at this point. He announces that this is a holdup and that everyone needs to stay, not move. He then goes over to the teller area and takes what money the tellers have. Then he's making his way back out the front door of the bank. On his way to go out the front door of the bank, there was a loan officer at her desk near the front door, a female loan officer. He goes over to the female loan officer. Everybody is frozen. They have just seen a guy get murdered, and then again he had fired 2 shots into the ceiling. He goes over to the female loan officer and puts the gun on her and says, "Come on, you're going to drive my vehicle. I need you to drive my vehicle." And she says, "Please, no, no, no. I don't want to do that." A male employee who was across the lobby hollers and says, "Leave that woman alone." The bad guy turns the gun towards him and fires at him. Then puts the gun back on the female loan officer and says, "Come on, you're driving the getaway vehicle." She again refuses. "Please, no, no, no." He shoots her. So he's now shot 2 people and shot at a third. There was a customer sitting at that desk. And of course she's frozen in absolute sheer terror, as is everyone at the bank. The bad guy walks over to the customer. It's a female, late 40s, a pretty a woman who had come to the bank and was visiting with her friend who was that loan officer while she conducted business. And he said, "Come on, you're going to drive my vehicle." She has now seen him shoot 2 people and shoot at a third. She knows he means business. And she says, "I'll go, but please don't kill me. I have grandchildren." He grabs her by the arm, drags her out of the bank, and puts her in the driver's seat of his stolen minivan. He gets in the passenger seat, puts the gun on her and says, "Drive." He's telling her which directions, what turns to make, where to go. And eventually, they end up on Highway 69 headed north towards Muskogee. Everyone who's left at the bank has, of course, seen all this, seen the kidnapping of that lady who was our client. And they're calling 911. Dozens of calls are coming in, to the switchboard and saying, this female, I won't mention her name right now, but has been kidnapped. A bad guy has shot 2 people. And so law enforcement from across the area are assembling for this. And the first law enforcement vehicle to catch up to that stolen minivan, who's being driven by our client against her will with a gun to her head, as a hostage was a City of Eufaula police officer. So the police officer catches up to the minivan and flashes his lights. The bad guy will not let our client pull off to the side of the road or comply with anything. She's still forced to keep driving north on Highway 69. As this is going on, the dispatch tells that City Eufaula police officer, remember, the white female is a hostage. The white female is a hostage. And he says, 10-4. Right about that time, a highway patrolman catches up to this chase. And he cuts between the City Eufaula police officer and the minivan. He takes over the chase. I won't get into all the problems with doing that, but that was, I'll just say generally, and it was clearly shown during the litigation, that was against policy. It was improper. Reason being is because when you take over a chase, you may not have all the information, and he did not. But he took over the chase. As they were proceeding north on Highway 69, the bad guy tells our client to take an exit on Onapa Road. So take the Onapa Road exit. They're now on a county road, and he's telling her to drive on this county road. The highway patrolman, again, not having all the information like the city cop did, performs what's known as the pit maneuver. Pit maneuver is when a law enforcement vehicle bumps the vehicle it's chasing from behind, usually causing the front vehicle to spin out, disabling that vehicle. The highway patrolman performed the pit maneuver. The vehicle spun out. It ended up on the left side of the roadway, still upright, still on four wheels, but on the left side of the roadway. To my client's left, outside the driver's door, was an open field. Outside the passenger door, to the right of the vehicle, was the roadway. Our client, very, very sharp woman, whose son happened to be in law enforcement in Oklahoma City. She had her concealed carry license, is a very sharp, sharp woman. She had been thinking all this time that she had been held as a hostage and forced to drive this vehicle, a couple of things. She had noticed, first of all, that he was keeping his bullets to reload in the console of this minivan. That's where his bullets were located. And the other thing too is she knew in her mind, if I can just get far enough away from this bad guy, they'll kill him. Law enforcement will kill him. They know, surely they know I'm the hostage here. And if I can get myself away from this murderer, this bad guy, they'll take him out and I'll be safe. And that's going through her mind. As soon as the vehicle had come to a rest after the pit maneuver, the bad guy jumps out the passenger door and begins firing at the law enforcement vehicles coming upon the scene. And he's firing quickly. Our client is keeping track of how many rounds he has. She knows what type of gun he has. She's sharp. And she knows he's going to run out of bullets really quick. And she knows he's going to come back in there to reload inside that minivan. So she takes that opportunity while he jumped out the door and was standing by the minivan. She took that opportunity to leave through the driver's door and run out into the field with her hands up, screaming, I'm a hostage, I'm a hostage. Unfortunately, because some of the law enforcement did not know the entire situation, they fired upon an unarmed hostage. And she went down. Once she got hit by the law enforcement bullets, she went down. The first bullet hit her left leg, shattering her femur, and she went down. The bad guy, who was having this shootout with law enforcement, sees Julie in the field. And he's thinking, there's cover. So he literally runs and lays behind her as a sandbag, like somebody would in a wartime situation, and is laying behind her body, using it as cover to shoot at law enforcement. Law enforcement continues to shoot, and she was shot a total of 10 times. Every bullet came from law enforcement. An innocent hostage was shot 10 times. The bad guy was eventually killed by one of the law enforcement bullets as he was ducking down behind Julie's body. And so the shootout was over. When they went to check out the situation, as law enforcement approached the two bodies laying there in the field, they noticed, of course, the bad guy had been dispatched. He was obviously expired. But they found a heartbeat, and so ambulance, and I think she was life-flighted, I believe, to Tulsa, and underwent, I think it was 19 surgeries, had to learn to walk, talk, eat, basically learn to do everything again after her serious injuries. But she made a miraculous recovery. If she were to walk in the room today, you'd never guess she had been shot literally from head to toe 10 different times. And just one of the most inspiring persons I have ever met. She retained Lloyd and I and our firm to represent her in 2 cases, one against the bank, one against law enforcement, and it went very well. Went very well. But that was probably the most interesting case. We have actually been approached by folks about turning this into a movie, and the litigation itself had so many interesting ups and downs. It went multi-year. They fought real hard, both sets of defendants, but it turned out very well. And something occurred right before we were to go to trial that caused the case to settle for an amount that they never had previously considered settling for, but it was a litigation tactic that went very well for us. It was a great case, and that woman, our client, when we got that case resolved, we had a big celebration at the Polo Grill here in Tulsa, and it was a wonderful time. But I can't think of a more deserving person than our client for that situation. Just great person. So that's probably one of the most interesting cases I've been involved in.